Maruti Suzuki's People Technology presents Suzuki Connect with Navigate to Car and many other features.
Watch more, feel more. Dell.
Gee, that was fun to watch, at least for a while. When Hasaranga and Dasun Chanaka put on a 50 partnership, we thought, wow, what are we in for here? 41 of the last four. And then it went south pretty quickly with Owen Morgan's slightly unusual field settings and Sri Lanka finding pretty much everyone that he put on the boundary. In the end, England have won 4 out of 4. They are racing away into the semi-finals of the T20 World Cup. Sri Lanka, you think now that would draw the curtain on their campaign. Mahela, Jayawardene and Stephen Harmison to look back at what was Josh Butler's day as he led England off the field after this 26-run win. Mahela, we thought for a moment Sri Lanka were in this game. For more than a moment, it then went wrong pretty quickly.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's been the story for Sri Lanka in this tournament. I mean, they've been in the hunt and not been able to finish games off, kill games off. I mean, just a couple of batsmen at the top order who had starts. They could have easily, batted through for a bit more. Didn't have the patience that Josh Butler and Owen Morgan had when they were struggling. So, and with the dew, I mean, it really came hard. I haven't seen that much dew in Sharjah for the last couple of weeks. England bowled well. I thought the spinners bowled those back of a length stuff. They didn't have no other choice but to bowl those stuff. And Sri Lanka just did not have batters. I mean, 40 or 4, you fancy at Sharjah with dew on. So, but Sri Lanka did not have the batsman to finish it off.
That's the first time we've seen England defend a score in this tournament, Stephen. What was clearly a target that they didn't outbat Sri Lanka, even though they might have got something which was above par. They did all right, didn't they?
Yeah, they did really well, and again, it's a good another tick in the box for this England team, who are even further, I think, away as strong favourites now with what's happening with India. Look, this side was asked at the start: could they go and do it the opposite way around? Could they go and bat first, post a total, and then go and defend it on a surface which has not been kind to England in the past? And I think they ticked all the boxes with flying colours. They held their nerve in that middle period. They showed their experience. When we talked about at halftime how Sri Lanka lost their way by not backing their skills and not hitting the pitch hard and staying with what was going well for them when Morgan and Butler was going in, where England didn't panic. They got the seamers to bowl hard into length. The spinners, like Mahela said, they only had one way of being able to bowl because the dew on the ball, thrown into that good length, that hard length, and having fielders in the longest part of the boundary, bowling to the longest part of the boundary, and they held their nerve and showed what a fantastic side they are. And at a little point, I thought Sri Lanka was going to get to a point where they thought they were going to get over the line, but normally that is the hardest part. When you get to that point, you've then got to go again and try and get over the line. And I think when it comes to that point, that's when normally class shows. And I think that's what happened to England tonight.
They also had to do it without Tamal Mill's services, arguably their best bowler in the first couple of games. Quad injuries have troubled him in the past, Steve. If he doesn't feature in this World Cup, how does that affect England?
Yeah, it's heartbreaking for Tamal. I'm really gutted for the lad, because when we've talked over the last sort of 3 games, when we talked about what do England do? Do they make a change? Are they going to mix the balance of their side up? Well, every single former player has said the only person that could be needing the change is Tamal Mills because of his injury record and his body. I would have said the same thing about Mark Wood if Mark Wood had played 3 games in a row. So from that point of view, it's devastating for the lad. You could see he was struggling badly there just to run in. So I think that's probably is the end of the tournament for him. I would imagine Reece Topley will come into the squad, and England will go like for like when it comes to pace, not the angle, but I think Mark Wood, hopefully, for England point of view, will be ready to play and hit the back end of the tournament as every bit as good and hard as Tamal Mills has hit the sort of start of the tournament. So they've got a good, ready replacement. But it's devastating when you see somebody with an injury record like Tamal has to sort of pull up in the middle of the tournament.
Yeah, especially when he made this comeback to the T20I side after a few years and started ahead of some of the other seamers. So you feel for Timal Mills. But let's try and make sense of the last few overs, Mahela. Now, hearing a lot on commentary by Nasser Hussain praising Owen Morgan, unorthodox field captaincy. Was that genius captaincy, or how would you sum up those last few overs?
Well, I think, to be honest, I thought it was a strange decision for him to bowl those three balls which Tamal left with Vokes, because
Hmm.
Vokes is your main bowler and probably needed another fast bowler to finish the overs. And if Sri Lanka has calculated properly and Dasun Shanaka especially not giving his wicket away against that last over of uh, who's got a brain freeze now
No,
against
no, no. Yeah.
Moeen
the
Ali.
run
Moeen
out.
Ali. Yeah.
Moeen Ali. I mean, Sri Lanka would have had like 2 overs of spin that he could have gone after because he's a good player of spin. And I thought that if they had calculated well, Sri Lanka had the game intact because 3 overs spin of in the last four, you will take it because Vokes wouldn't have been able to bowl that extra over as well. So they had to bowl Moeen and then and finish off. So Sri Lanka, I mean, it's just the intelligence around that. But I thought Morgan didn't have any other choice but to fall back to those tactics, bowling back of a length and bowling nice and straight lines and getting Sri Lankan batsmen to hit straight. Most of the Sri
Hmm.
Lankans don't reverse much, so he was quite comfortable having that fielders up on the offside and then asking them to hit those straight lines.
Hmm. Steve, anything to add to that on what's been Owen Morgan's finest day, you think, in recent times as a player? But there seemed to be a lot of praise coming to him as captain, too.
Yeah, there's always a lot of praise coming to him as a captain if you do you get over the line and your team wins. I'm with Mahela. I thought even someone like David Milan, leg spin, could have finished that over just to have Wokes' full over up his sleeve for the back end of the tournament, for back end of the innings. I thought it was a 1 wicket game. If Sri Lanka didn't lose a wicket, they probably would have got over the line with Hasaranga and Shanaka in. But once they lost that wicket, it was always going to be an uphill challenge. Morgan gets praise when England win, which is more often than not. But I think if you asked him to do it again, I think he might have said, right, we've got away with that decision there. Um, and it's hard to come in and hit sixes from from ball one when men are around the boundary. One thing I will say is when you are in a tight situation, Mahela's probably heard it many times before. 1 wicket in the field just lifts the bowlers and lifts the atmosphere of the team. Well, England had 2 wickets in the field. They had a fantastic catch by Billings and Roy, whichever way
Yeah.
you want to look at it, which is always harsh on the man who doesn't get credited with a catch, and then the bit of brilliance by Butler to run Shanaka out. Two things in the field that went England's way. And England are on Morgan's on the victorious side, and he looks more of a genius than he actually is.
Yeah, just on that, I think during the IPL we had it on our coverage that these relay catches now, cricket's records need to start including both fielders perhaps in the scorebook. Anyone for that? Hands up, Stephen, Mahela, anybody for that?
I,
Steve, you'd like
I,
to?
I, I think like in basketball and probably football, you go as an assist now, and then whoever have those assists, probably get more credit and more fantasy points as well, I guess.
Yeah, I
You,
love it.
you,
Yeah,
you,
Steve, you go with that on a
you, you're asking me, a fast bowler who would have tried to attempt that, would have missed it with both hands, gone through my legs, and probably done a forward roll going into the advertising board. And so, no, there wasn't many times where I thought that could possibly happen with Big Steve Harmison. But hey, this just shows you how good these guys are and how much the game has changed.
Sure. Yeah, I think we're all happy if we include the guy who does most of the hard work, arguably, in some way or the other.
Absolutely.
But there is something else I want to bring up here. Scoreboards for this game for the rest of time won't necessarily tell you Liam Livingston did anything extraordinary. 4 overs, 1 for 34. I've seen him do it before, but never in a World Cup game where he knew he had to bowl 4 overs. Myla, is this the future? A guy who can bowl off spin and leg spin at will, depending on the situation?
Yeah, and the scary part is we still haven't seen him, batting top of the
Hmm.
order. as well. Like if you give him an opportunity, batting number 3 or 4, I think he's a devastating batsman as well. So he's an incredible package to have. He's a very good fielder, bowls off spin, bowls leg spin, and today especially with the dew, they found it very hard to grip. I saw there was a close up of him gripping the ball. He just went cross him and just into the wicket stuff. He was quite accurate. He made sure that he didn't give any width and he bowled those leg stump lines. Got the job done for Owen Morgan. Otherwise, they would have been in big trouble if he hadn't been able to bowl those 4 overs economically and kept those guys quiet in that middle overs.
Yeah, I mean, it's an understated skill, isn't it, Steve? Because R. Ashwin's tried it, and he's a great off spinner who seems to just get it horribly wrong every time he tries leg spin. We're hearing of ambidextrous bowlers. Kamindu Mendis was, I think, originally part of this Sri Lanka probable squad, but we've seen Livingston do this now. It's a special skill.
It is, yeah. The ability to take the ball away from the right or the outside edge of the bat is something you want in the shortest format of the game. And Joe Root does it as well. When Joe Root bowls in one-day cricket, he tries to bowl not as many leg spinners, but he has got that in his repertoire. But Livingston is slowly but surely not only finding his feet in this side, he's finding a role and a role with purpose in this side. From a bowling point of view, I look at this team now, and even if Mills had got through this game and was fit, you could have an argument for England. Can England fit one more bowler into this side, i.e. Mark Wood, that hits the pitch hard to give you the three? You've still got like the seamers, 3-4 seamers, the 3 spinners, and possibly take Milan out of the side and everybody move up one, because like Mahela's just said, Livingston hasn't had a bat really so far, like a proper bat in this tournament so far, and he's going to need one, because come semi-final and final, when England obviously get there, then the whole team will need to be will be tested.
Right. Do you think this now would effectively be it for Sri Lanka? But Mahela, if you look back at this, they've not played horribly in any of their games. Fine margins, isn't it? What are your feelings right now for this Sri Lankan side? What are they missing? Is it just a matter of experience?
Not just experience. I think it's just overall thing of being ruthless in situations. I think what demands at this level is that you held your nerves and make those right decisions. And yes, it's part of being haven't played that many games, but at the same time they have played enough games to understand how to play at this level. I mean, they probably came across probably the one of the best teams in T20 format at the moment, and who are in form. But obviously, the pitch offered Sri Lanka some assistance to get back into the game and handle situations. But they let themselves down in that situation, and it's the same thing happened against South Africa. They beat Bangladesh in a close game. Yes, against the qualifiers they were pretty dominant. So it's a young team. You can say that it's a good investment as long as these guys keep learning and make sure that under pressure in these big tournaments, that they need to be much more ruthless in execution, in game awareness, pretty much, especially with the bat. I mean, we saw a very silly run out up front. A guy who was in form, Kusal Janit Pera, again, a most experienced Sri Lankan batsman, not being able to convert those stars that he's getting, and rest of the guys, because 160 in Sharjah is not a big score. And if they had batted, with some sort of structure, they would have got this easily.
All right. One last question before we wrap things up. England 4 out of 4. Pakistan look like the other red hot team. Who's playing the better cricket at the moment? Can we call one, Steve?
I'm biased, but I think England. Look in every facet look very, very good. The fielding's exceptional. The bowling, seam bowling is bowling with a plan and a purpose into length. The spin bowling is bowling to the side of the field with the biggest boundary, men on the boundary, and the fielding's backing them up. And their power play batting is, even though today it wasn't the best power play, their power play batting has been very, very good. So for me, I think England's the best team in this has been the best team in this tournament so far.
Mahela, England or Pakistan at this stage of the tournament?
I think batting wise, definitely England ahead in the sense that they got the power, top order, a lot of explosiveness, variety. Pakistan bowling skill wise, probably Now with Tamam Mills out, I reckon they still have something in there, so that's a balanced attack. But it's quite hard to say. But at the moment, probably England slightly ahead overall performances and confidence wise as well.
Yeah, you think in this a relatively tougher group, and now having lost the toss and done the job, you'd be a strong man to go against England to go all the way at this stage. Thank you very much, Steve Harmison, Mahela Jayawardene as well. We will have more from you on Maruti Suzuki presents ESPN looking for T20 timeout powered by Dell. Let the howls of victory keep on from England. I can see I have a few at home, so that'll keep going. We'll see you tomorrow for the double header. Join us then.
Maruti Suzuki's People Technology presents Suzuki Connect with Navigate to Car and many other features.
Watch more, feel more, Dell.